And then is what we'll do is I need to make sure that we're on the right one here. Yeah. And then we ready to go. Perfect timing. Just did a mic check on you and you coughed and it come up lovely. Hello, everybody. Right, are you ready?
Go.
Hello, everybody over on Facebook. We are just sorting everything out and we should be going live.
It's now time for you to sit back
In your chair and
relax. Let your mind wander into the deepest, darkest parts of your brain. And let Russ and Paul take you on a journey through the unexplained.
Good evening, guys, and welcome to Journey Through the Unexplained, live and exclusive on Pulse Talk Radio. It's the 15th of February, 2024, and I feel a cough coming on right at the wrong time of the opening segment of the show. And at this point, I'm quickly going to hand over to the wonderful Mr. Co-host, Paranormal Paul. Are you there?
I am. How are we doing? All good?
Absolute quality timing, if I ever said it so myself. Just right that opening segment, I thought, no, I'm going to go. I'm not going to get through it. It's because I went too high on Pulse Talk Radio. That's what it was. I just want to say thank you for the last hour of the lovely Philip Solomon. I'm glad you're feeling better, Philip. It's nice to hear you on the airways again. I know he's been pretty poorly over the last couple of months, but it's nice to see you back on the air, Philip. So that's lovely to see and hear. We don't see him, we obviously hear him. So thank you ever so much for the last hour, Philip. Where was I going with this? Because you know what? I am useless at planning things.
Yeah.
Useless. Right? For the sheer fact is, if I'm not winging it, I'm crap. So I've tried to plan this show a little bit and it just hasn't worked. For the sheer fact is, you were late, not late on, but I was late looking at the screen and you were there. And then I was doing something else because I thought, you know what, I could do with a brighter light in here. So I think I need a brighter light to stop these funny things. See the shadow it causes? It's because the light's coming from one direction. So I need a different light. So I was looking at that. Then I looked at these lights and it needed something else. And I was like, oh, you know what? And then I realized it was time that we needed to go live. So me trying to plan anything is wrong. Just let me wing it. It just needs to wing.
It's usual, isn't it?
Yes. But I just want to let you know, and Paul know, because I was supposed to say this, we'll probably be finishing around 9:30 tonight, okay? Because I've got to be up early tomorrow morning. And I don't know about you, but when you finish the show, you do spend another sort of 45 minutes trying to just calm yourself down. You sort of look at things from where you don't need to look, to go down them rabbit holes. Spend a good 20 minutes still on TikTok looking at the videos or something like that. And you think, then the next thing you look at, it's like 12:20 and you think, oh my God, what is going on? So,
every week.
So it's what I'm going to try and do. When I have an early shift, I'm going to try and finish at 9:30 and it will finish at 10 o'clock on a normal routine. That's what I'm going to try and do to give us a better, push forward. That makes sense.
Yes.
Good. So how's your week been?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Like I say, I had a little bit of a bug the beginning part of the week. Don't know where it come from. It seems to have cleared up, but other than that, all good, mate. Still busy at work, so keeping active.
Well, that's what you want, isn't it? We've got the lovely Maz that is joining us tonight. We've obviously got our lovely Danish listener all the way from Denmark, the lovely Heidi Hansen that joins us every week. It'd be very interesting to actually, this week's topic, we are talking about the mainstream media. We're going to sort of hit the mainstream media and what their agendas are going, why, what, hows, and, what sort of examples can. So it'd be very interesting to see, over in Denmark, if they have the same sort of, we suffer quite badly over here with mainstream media. I don't want to sort of mention names and just solely predict one, but something that sounds like that we see is the sort of worst one that we could possibly go with. But they're all as bad as each other as far as I'm concerned. And when we go to it, and I know that, we spoke to Joe a couple of weeks ago. He doesn't watch telly. He doesn't watch the mainstream media. I know Jay, team member Jay, doesn't necessarily watch the mainstream media. So I think we're sort of just crack on, really, because it really hit me last week after last week's show when we was talking about the farmers' revolt in the UK. Well, not in the UK, but over Europe, and how that wasn't sort of made any sort of form of TV right up until the last possible minute, where they had no option to do it.
Is that so? After last week's show, they blocked off Dover, didn't they?
Yeah,
in England, and I said I do believe it has started in England, and I was obviously right. it all sort of kicked off after that.
And I do believe it was yesterday that my nan said that it was on the news that the Welsh have also started to, and that was on mainstream media. So the narrative. So the two ways there'd be two ways that we can go about this. I'm not going to sit on the fence because there is obviously an agenda and a mainstream media thing out there. There's a good chance that this will be the flat earth episode, because it might take us a couple of weeks to get through it if the algorithms start picking up on anything that they don't like. But we've got to touch on it. At some point we have to touch on it, because it is a major unexplained, and I generally do feel that it does link, I can't help it, it does link to sort of ufology and the UFOs and everything like that. So everything that we deal with against the mainstream media is what they want us to hear and see. Yeah. Is that sort of like just an overview of it?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to the shows we done quite a while ago, wasn't it? About predictive programming and that sort of thing, And at the end of the day, the people reporting, I suppose, can you blame them? To a certain point, yes, I think you can. But other than that, they're getting paid to say what they say. They might come across like they've got their own opinions, but there's only so far they can push that opinion before it gets them in trouble. So if they want to keep their job, then they've got to stick to the mainstream narrative. And at the end of the day, these broadcasters, they're all funded by certain people. So you can't then, if that certain person funding them is doing something bad in the world or investing in something bad in the world, then they can't really report on it, because they're also investing in them. And they could quite easily either cut their funding or cut the people working for them that have brought it up. So it's a very vicious circle, I think, when it comes to that. But
I sort of see what you're saying, but at the end of the day, these news reporters and these people who work there, they have a job. Yes. There is that fine line between biting your tongue, and let's be fair that it's not going to be a minimum wage job that they're on.
No, but at the same time, it's not really independent journalism anymore, is it? They don't actually go out and investigate these things themselves. They literally get a bit of paper put in front of them that's telling them what to say. So that's what they say. So
yes.
they're reading it maybe sometimes for the first time, and because it's put in front of them, they've relied on other people to do the investigation. So I suppose they think, well, it must be true if it's made it on my desk. But even, are they that naive though? Can some people read it out and then think, well, hang on a minute, that don't make sense?
I think they can. I think they can.
But then I suppose, is it their professionality that they can just keep that blank expression and carry on? And
Yes,
if this is what
you
they're
know,
telling
I
me to
think
say, I've got to say it.
yeah, because it's a job.
Mm.
You know, it is a job. At the end of the day, you know, no different to us. We report to certain people. We've got bosses and we've got bosses, and at the end of the day, we sort of follow their line no matter what. You know, yes, we will sit there and argue the point, but you know, sometimes you just have to think, you know what, I ain't gonna win. Just do it. Shut up and do it against your sort of self morals, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. I mean, if I suppose if you're in a meeting and something's said that you don't agree with, do you shout out at the meeting, or do you wait until after and then pull the boss to one side and go, listen, about what you said there? It's one of them, isn't it?
I'm one of them that would go and get facts first.
Yeah.
There's sometimes that I do look, you know, in meetings, I go, no, that's stupid. That's stupid. But then I've already jumped before I've, you know, I can walk, if that makes sense. And I think, well, if I had this in my hand and if I had that in my hand, if I actually thought about it, okay, that's just my overpowering mind thinking about it. So do they, I think they're caught between the devil and the deep blue sea some points, because they are sort of, you know, news reporters or news anchors or whatever you want to call them, presenters, are the you know, the celebrity people, aren't they now? You know, you see them every day of the week. They've got, and they're not going to they live probably a good life. Why would they lose that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't necessarily blame the presenters. There is some that I can blame. There is definitely some out there that I can blame.
But you've also had a lot of presenters leave their jobs over the last few years, over the things that they've been asked to report, and when they've questioned things, or if they do put their opinions across, they've been outed. You know, I'm not just talking about our country, I'm talking about other countries, you know, specifically America and our country. But yeah, you had that one woman in America on the news, wasn't it? Who she basically quit live on air, and she gave her reasons why she quit live on air, and it was a big uproar and this and that, and she went, yeah, nah, I'm not doing this no more. So,
but they've always got that backup.
Sorry,
they've always got backup. I always think these people have got backup. And that's another sort of rabbit hole that we will visit at some point tonight. Natalie has put evening. What is the topic tonight? Deep one tonight, Natalie. We are talking about the mainstream media agenda. So you just have to sit tight, buckle up, and hold that. For anyone who doesn't know who Natalie is, as you can see, she owns the Bug Hut over at White Elm Garden Centre. So if you do home any of these eight-legged creatures that run around that normally get hit with a slipper, Natalie is your friend that you need to go and see at White Elm Garden Centre in CM3 4LR. They had last week, and I mean it, Paul, when I said they had spiders like that. Yes, the body of the spider must have been about that round. and it hissed and it stood on its back legs. You know what? I'm out. I'm out. If that thing run at me, you would see a grown man cry, and then I would have to change underpants very, very quickly. And I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Yeah.
But no, if you do look after reptiles or anything like that, please make sure you go and visit Natalie over at the Bug Hut and the Reptile Hut over at White Elm Garden Centre in Bicknaker, CM3 4LR. And while you're there, you can pop in and see us as well. Right, let's have a look. Heidi Foot, we do have one media that has flushed. What does that say? Etic. Out the toilet with all the right about, but also some very good ones who are out and about investigating things before telling it. I have respect for those who are in countries reporting home lives from going to war or going on war. We have much free speech here, but now bad stuff sells, sadly.
Yeah, if it ain't bad, it don't make the news, isn't it? It's one of them.
Ethic. Sorry,
ethic. Yeah.
But I think we don't really have freedom of speech in this country. I don't think the news allows us to have freedom of speech.
No,
because I think
don't have that much live reporting anymore. You used to have live, and that's when you used to get your "it'll be all right" in the night moments. But
yeah,
now it's pretty much always pre-recorded, just in case they get hecklers or someone saying something they shouldn't do.
Which I understand because your 6 o'clock news and you got some idiot shouting out obscenities on the telly. You don't need that explaining to your children. You don't.
Exactly that.
I remember many years ago. Do you remember the Big Breakfast?
Yes, love that.
Right, they used to come to your towns, didn't they? And Keith Chegwin. Well, they come to where I used to live, and there was loads of us over on the Big Breakfast, and they actually they only did one live because we were just so rowdy. They just wouldn't go live again. Poor old Keith Chegwin. Poor old Keith. But no, and that was, I think, that's generally why they don't do it, in my eyes, because of that. That's how I would see it. But so it's what we've got to try and sort of eke out here is we've got a couple of questions. What's the point? Why? And give examples I've written down. Why the narrative? Why this? Why that? Control. We know all that, but how this works and why it works. You said about this lady who walked away from it, resigned live on air, and then, but there must have been a backup plan for her in my head. You don't just walk away from it without something potentially that you could do, i.e. I use two people over here. Piers Morgan obviously went to talk whatever it was.
Yeah, well, he's got some money and clout behind him, though, hasn't he? You know what I mean? She hasn't really. I mean, I didn't know that much about her before it happened. She's done quite well for herself as an independent journalist now, and she does a lot of social media news, that sort of thing now. So, and she got a lot of support over doing what she done as well. I mean, obviously, it's awkward because I think a lot of things are going to sort of go in the COVID direction when it comes to suppression and what you're told and what you're not. And that was one of the things why she sort of screamed out about what was going on, what she was told to report on. She said, well, that's not true. I'm here, it's theirs. That's not happening. And that's why that happened. So that's why as well she got a lot of support, because other people saw that, hang on a minute, we're getting told something that doesn't ring true here. People just falling in the street or this and that, and it never happened in this country, but So, yeah, but she's done quite well for herself since then. Tucker Carlson, same thing, and it's not just and he's more about your ufology. He got very deep into that, and the things that were going on in the States at the time, with these Chinese weather balloons being shot out the sky, and he started questioning things. He openly admits he was quite mainstream narrative driven. He believed and reported on a lot of the stuff he was doing until he started noticing the errors in the things he was reporting on. So he started to question it, but he would question it live as well. And then he'd start putting his opinion in. And the Tucker Carlson show, it was a massive, massive show. And he sort of finally hung up his reporting microphone on that platform, so to say, and sort of went off on his own back. But again, it was easier for him because he's got a huge following anyway, and obviously he's the one that's just done the Putin interview. So
I was going to
he's
touch
got
on that.
a lot of stick about that.
But there's two things that it doesn't sit. We'll touch on that a little bit later on. All right, the Tucker Carlson one, because I think that is quite a main attraction where this mainstream line went. But we'll start off sort of like light-hearted, going deep, because I'm not sure this Tucker Carlson interview is all what it's made to believe. But I don't know where and why, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But sort of, for us, we even sort of like the likes of, if we have Piers Morgan, which led the narrative. You think of him through that whole COVID, he led the narrative. He said, if you don't have the vaccination, don't get your hospital appointments and everything like that. Which, fair play to him. I sit with him in some things, but I don't in other things. That, he winds me up sometimes, but he doesn't on some things.
I know exactly where you're coming from there. I'm the same. Sometimes I hate him. I think, really? Oh, if he was in front of me now. But other times I think, valid point. Well done you for saying that.
And the thing that just changed my opinion slightly is he actually apologised for the COVID thing.
He did, and he didn't, in my eyes. Yes, he said, I admit I was wrong in saying what I said. But then he said, I said it with the facts that were given to me at the time. Right. So, well, there was no facts that said if you're unvaccinated, you're killing all these people. There was never a fact. That was an opinion. That was an ideology. So to say that, I'm only apologising because that turned out not to be true. But hang on a minute, you would quite happily have people just dying in the street, just, regardless of what illness they had, if they needed treatment. No, Sodom, they weren't not vaccinated. Yeah, that's where I was like, well, no. So you've apologised for what you said because you believed at the time what you were saying was true and it turned out not to be true. Well, I still don't, it still don't mean you're a very nice person to treating all them people like that, mate. But
you have to take into. I think we have to take into the account that he wasn't the only one that was led.
Oh God, no.
By what was said, and I do think that as a news reporter, as a journalist, newspaper editor, whatever. You have to do your due diligence. Do you know what I mean? You have to be seen to be doing the right thing at that time. Now, I'm hands up. Okay, beginning of how COVID started, I would have done everything to protect anybody against it, and I still do not take back what I did. I did it for the sake of, wearing masks, wearing masks, for an instant. I didn't want to wear masks, didn't think they worked, didn't really care. But my fear was I didn't want to go into a shop or wherever it was and cause anybody any upset because I wasn't doing it. They still had the right to get their shopping. They still had the right to do their thing. And I could have made that awkward by walking in there without a mask. And I get all that. And would I change it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, because of, I don't want to put other people down that were petrified of it. Because there were people out there at the time that were so frightened of it that me doing something would then only end up causing their mental health even more. And I didn't want that to be that person.
I totally get what you're saying there. I mean, I done the same. I always wore my mask when I went out shopping. I hated it. But I done it for slightly different reasons. More for the fact that I didn't want the confrontation myself. You know, if people started pulling me up about it, then I'll be rallying every day.
Yeah.
So just for an easy life. And, you know, and like you said, you know, people were absolutely petrified of it. Why were they petrified of it? Because of the mainstream media. That's the only reason.
And but at the beginning, we all pulled the same line because we just did not know. We did not know. We knew it was. No, Joe, it's not about that. It's not about being a sheep. COVID was totally planned, fully split society. Couldn't believe people were so stupid to believe it at all. I never wore a mask, and it's not about that because it was your opinion at that time. You know, it's not.
I can totally believe people fell for it. I can totally believe, you know, that there were certain things. When I look back, you know, there were certain things I thought, oh, blimey, that's a bit. But I can only speak for myself. I can personally say I don't remember being like frightened of, you know, even at the beginning. I remember. Oh, this is so bad, and I hope no one at work's listening. But I remember towing the line in the way that I thought, hang on a minute, I can get something out of this. When we were asked to repair cars, other places had already gone on furlough, you know, and we was classed as key workers because we were repairing vehicles for maybe emergency services, nurses, and things like that. And I said, we got nothing to clean the vehicles with, nothing to wipe them down, you know. You said you're going to start charging out for a COVID. You're going to clean it when it first comes in. Then it's going to go to one person for him to do his bit. Then it's going to come to me, but there's no cleaning in between. I said, give me some cleaning equipment. We ain't got nothing. And if you want me to stay here and work where everyone else is sitting at home, give me something to protect myself.
Yeah.
You know, I was, you're going to make me come in and work when everyone else is sat at home. I want protection. And within 10 minutes, we all had cleaning gear. But then a couple of days later, we went on furlough anyway. So because everywhere else was shut, we couldn't get parts or anything for anything. So we couldn't repair the cars that were in anyway.
And I get, you know, where Joe comes from. But unfortunately,
that was more later on, though, I think. You know, my mind didn't quite go that far until a bit later on. From the get-go, I certainly didn't.
I didn't know what to expect.
Anything. Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect. You know, for all intents and purposes, it could have been something serious that we could all drop dead of. But it was the first sort of couple of times when I'm thinking, well, everyone's, you know, getting all these facts and figures shown up on the screen, and there was no evidence of it, i.e., all the people I knew didn't have it.
Yeah. And
that was, you know, I didn't know in that first lockdown, I didn't know anybody who had it.
No.
Didn't. And I'm just thinking,
no, I didn't.
That's really odd because surely I would know somebody. by now about it.
I've heard of the odd one or two people, but then one or two people, like, it wasn't COVID as everyone else got COVID. It was like serious illness. One person passed away and this and that, but no one. And it was like, oh yeah, it was COVID that got him. Yeah, he got COVID. But it was so drastic what happened to him. I hadn't heard of anyone else getting something that bad the way it was explained to me at the time, you know. And even when people did start coming down with COVID, I didn't know anyone that got it as bad as that.
No. And I say, the first time I got it, I admit it made me feel shitty. It made me feel shitty. Probably the worst I've ever felt. Don't get me wrong. It was like a heavy flu. But I managed to just carry on with what I was doing. I locked myself away because I do have vulnerable people. Obviously, I've got. I was living with two older people at that time, and someone, my mum, who has low immune system, obviously through cancer treatment and everything like that. So why would I even contemplate, even trying to give that to somebody? It just is far and beyond me. Even if it was a cold or anything, I would stay away. That's what it was about. We, at the first couple of weeks, didn't know what we were dealing with. We were just told that, it happened in Japan, China, didn't it? And, no one was dropping dead in the streets. But when they started...
But you saw the video of them dropping in the streets in China.
Yeah.
And everyone took that as gospel. Blimey, that's bad. That's coming this way. Yeah.
And it was I've got to put my hands up. I'm not going to sit here and lie about it. When everyone got put into lockdown, I was working 2 days a week, maybe 1 day a week if I got put on a Wednesday, because there's 3 of us and we all had to do a shift each. So it was like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It was lovely. I was doing 2 days a week, getting full pay. I think I was the only, probably the one in this world that's thinking, I could do this for the rest of my fucking life. I really could. Not a problem. Come home, played my computer, stood there, it was lovely. I went shopping, everything was nice. Stood in the garden, sat in the garden.
The car on the road either, was there?
No,
it was lovely going to and from work.
It was beautiful. And I'm not ashamed to admit it, and I'm not ashamed to lie about it. I mean? When we say, well, we might have to go back with work, I thought, well, I went, well, what? With all these kids, they're going to let us back into this? Thinking, I don't want to go back. It was nothing to do with I'm going to catch it. It was more the fact is I might have to do a full day week for the first time in 7 weeks.
I've got so much done around the house. I was getting paid to stay at home and decorate.
Exactly it. This show wouldn't have been formed from it. The podcast wouldn't have been formed from it. Okay, from the other side of you, the event side of you, is an absolute goddamn nightmare. They're all stupid. Why hasn't anyone previously wore a mask to avoid family sickness? Because that's what at the end of the day, we didn't know what it was. It's as simple as that.
The reason for that, Joe, is because of the hundreds of peer-reviewed studies done on masks that prove that they didn't stop any transmission when it comes to airborne viruses and things like that. And I remember other mainstream media, and I won't mention his name, very popular one on Good Morning, even he sat there at the beginning of it, and there was a number of people sat there at the beginning, Chris Whitty and all them sort of people, all saying, no, masks don't do nothing, don't protect them, and they do more harm than good if you wear them for long periods of time, this and that, blah, 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 blah. And then overnight, bosh, it switched. I was sitting at home, I turned the telly on, and that well, I don't know if I can say it, I'm going to say it, old Hillary, he just changed overnight. That you must wear a mask. And straight away, and this was very early on, straight away I just looked at the wife and I pointed at the telly and I went, he's just been paid out to change his mind. I said, yesterday, do you remember what he sat there and said yesterday? And now, it's just done a complete 180 and changed it. Why?
But that's, at the end of the day, it's what they, once again, it's the control of the mainstream media. This is what this is all about. It's controlling you to do what you want at what time. And there's, you know, it doesn't matter if you don't watch mainstream media or whatever you are, we're always going to be controlled by this agenda. Always.
It's the hypocrisy of it.
But
and it's the fact that people still believed everything after they kept changing their mind day after day after day. And it was constantly follow the science. Well, hang on a minute. You're not following the science. Yesterday, you told us all the science points to this. And today, you're doing a complete 180. You can say, follow the science, do what I'm telling you to do now. Because well, hang on a minute. What science am I following?
But then that gives what they need. I am pretty sure I'd put my I ain't got a mortgage, so I can't put that. I'd put my life's earnings on it, which is not much. I would put my life's earnings on it that the people that come out with the other side of, you know, the masks are bad, the vaccinations are bad, are all from the same brush at the top.
Mm.
I bet you $1 billion if I had it, that the person at the top of the line that give us all the spiel about COVID this, COVID that, give you the same spiel about it. You know, it's okay. It's not going to do this. Masks are crap. The vaccinations crap. Don't take it. Whatever. Because without the split opinion on it, it wouldn't have been controlled. Wouldn't. There was no way that
it wasn't controlled. This is where we differ slightly. But it wasn't, because all the way through it, you had people riding up against it. You never saw it.
No, but you still knew about it. You still knew about it. And it was slowly drip fed to you to
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
It was all, we are always going to be led by it. It doesn't matter if you watch YouTube.
Look at these anti-vaxxers over there. Look at this. Look at what we've done. The police stormed in on the anti-vaxxers protesting this and that. They're spreading COVID. Yeah. I get it. Yeah, I know what you're saying now. Yeah. So it puts more people in line. Right, don't go out because you're going to get done or blamed, or people are going to think about them.
Exactly. Yeah, and I don't mean it was controlled by the sheep. No, I don't. I think it was controlled by exactly the same people that told you exactly the same thing. I think all these anti-vaxxers and all that you can call anti-vaxxers are exactly the same people that was telling you that they believe in it. Look at you've said his name, Dr. Hillary. Tells you one day it's good and one day it's not. That's exactly what they want. You've got to tell them that, because then you're going to cause an absolute divide, which we need. We've always been divided.
Yeah.
The world will always be divided, and you will always get that. We can say we're not sheep. No, because we wasn't, because we followed the advice of what we believe is wrong. Where did that information come from? Where did the information come from that, this, that, and the other? Someone's still sitting in a lab that could have just put, oh, look at that. Oh, let's just put this out because I can't be bothered to sit here for 5 days to watch it grow. But, that's fine. Don't worry about it. They're only leaking even the people on YouTube and stood up against the vaccination, stood up against it, still was anecdotal evidence from somewhere. Someone still made that evidence up. Could it be wrong? Could it be right? We would never goddamn know, because we don't. No more than do we know that COVID wasn't bad.
Mm.
There has to be this divide for, just like, there would never have been an uptake in the vaccination, and let's be fair, there was 96% of that first run of the UK that took the vaccination. That's a hell of a lot.
There wasn't. There's no way on earth there wasn't. We were told it was that many. We was also told that you couldn't play professional football unless you was vaccinated. Well, that wasn't true either.
But what was their point? What would their point be to not stop that?
Well, they were telling the public that more people had had it than not had it, to encourage the people that hadn't had it to go and get it.
I don't think that would have worked like that. I don't think that would have. I don't see that working in that long line.
Yeah.
I don't think the anti-vaxxers were that strong on the first round. I'm not talking about.
No, I'm not. What do you mean?
The very first session that they did, from that first day that old lady put the needle in her arm and it went. Okay, and that was jab 1. Whatever we're on now. Okay, whatever we're on now, 12, 18, 24, whatever. Okay. Then I reckon there's a massive turn from,
gotcha.
I would say there's 96% that haven't had it to probably 4% that have had it. But I do believe that the first shot, because it was a sign of freedom. So there would have been a hell of a lot of people. I put my hand up. I never had it. I never had it, you know.
I never had it. And I worked with 5 people that never had it either.
Well, my place of work, you know, I'm not going to mention my place of work. But that was, you know, it's quite strong. So a lot of them would have had it. But it also give people freedom. So even if you didn't believe it or not believe it, it was allowing you to go on holiday. I know a hell of a lot of people that just took it for the sake of getting away on holiday.
Because they wanted to go to a concert.
Exactly. So the uptake on that first round, I do generally believe would have hit them points. I didn't have a holiday planned. I didn't go to a concert. I didn't go to a football match. I don't have that sort of thing in my...
No, I wouldn't have wanted to go just because of all the restrictions that are in place anyway. But other than that, it never really stopped me doing anything that any other person couldn't do by not having it. I could still go out and eat.
Yeah.
That sort of thing didn't come in full effect around my area, you know.
No, I don't think it... But that's why I say I think that first jab would have been quite strong, because it was allowing people to go on holiday, to do things that they want to do. So the mainstream media was giving you that appeal. So they could sell it any way you wanted it to, any way they wanted it to. You know, and I think that's how they got that first round so high. Then I think you'd see a massive detraction from that first to where we are now, because of people have found what they need to find out, and that's where I see it. I mean, the anti-vaxxer science exposed stronger, but they could be dodgy. How do we know they're legitimate? How do we know that's the same? You know, that anti-vaxxer scientist, because he's come out as an anti-vaxxer scientist. He could have been the very, very first scientist that put the vaccine together, but we would never know about it.
Nah. But
we can only...
You know what makes me laugh with that? Did you see at all, and this was on mainstream media, the debate with Rishi Sunak? I think it was on GB News. A bit like Question Time, only GB News version. So you had that fella, John Watt, he's Scottish fella, he's been injured by the vaccine.
Yes, I saw
and he fired it at Rishi Sunak, didn't he?
Yeah.
You know, look me in the eye, Rishi. You've let me down. You've left us to rot. You've got 30,000 people on the helicopter system in Scotland alone, which is, they reckon, so under-recorded. It's like 1% of the people that actually...
I saw it.
Why have I got to set up my own support group to help the vaccine injured? I know people have lost limbs through amputation, through clots, this and that. And he just stood there, and when he started talking, Rishi Sunak, and he said, we've been the most silenced people. We're not allowed to speak about it. We've been shut down. He said, I'm very surprised to hear that you've been silenced. That's where I sort of raised up a bit, really. But the following day, that journalist, Kevin Maguire, on a mainstream morning programme, he said, did you see the bit with that anti-vaxxer absolutely going on and on and on at Rishi Sunak? Now, how is he an anti-vaxxer? he took 3 of them jabs. He took the first 2, and the booster's the one that got him. He got a heart condition for the rest of his life. It's ruined his life. He's ruined his career. Now, how is he an anti-vaxxer? But then Rishi Sunak, a week prior to that, or 2 weeks prior to that, was that day he stood up in Parliament, slapped his hand down on the thing and said, the COVID vaccines are 100% safe and effective. But why have you got a vaccine injury scheme that you're paying out all this money to the vaccine injured if they're 100% safe and effective?
But before
it's hypocritical, everything contradicts each other with it.
And this is what I am saying. This is what my whole point is, that it's saying this has to happen. And, you know, I don't want to go too heavy on the COVID side of thing. All right?
No.
Because that now has made mainstream media.
Yeah.
If they didn't want it to go on mainstream media, it wouldn't have been on mainstream media. So a part of me in my head thinks that bloke who stood up there and went, Richie Sunak, you can't do this, you can't do that. I think, you know what, mate? I don't believe a word you're saying. The sheer fact is, they want you to now hear that. How do, you know, we're only going by what we're told he is. How do we know he ain't an actor that's got absolutely sod all, I nearly swore then, even though I have sworn once. He could have absolutely be nothing wrong with him. He could be absolutely fine.
No, I've been following this fella from when he first started.
Yeah, but I'm just saying for.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
sort of the argument's sake, you know, of they want you now to see this. They need you to see this, so they want you to see it. So, as we are now being allowed to see this, why? Because there's an agenda behind it somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I reckon I know what that agenda is as well, because of Rishi Sunak's response. He was basically blaming the doctors and the specialists that gave him the advice at the time, not him so much, but gave them the advice at the time. So it's basically passing the buck away from Parliament and the government, and it's going onto the doctors and scientists that were giving them that advice. Why do you think they've halted the COVID inquiry until after the election now? They've postponed it now until after the election.
But it was always gonna be the case. I think if we stood there and said we're going to be suspended halfway through it,
if there was nothing to hide, you'd just let it play on, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but we know there's something to hide.
Exactly.
But the thing is, the time is not right for us to know.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't fit the plan of the agenda. And I'd say Joe's put some comments in, you know, because it was based on their findings on evidence. Prove it was evidence. We can't prove it. Because some doctor has gone on YouTube to say it and other media, it doesn't mean it's right. It's his evidence. Once again, it's anecdotal evidence against them saying
on
whatever.
Both parties, really.
Both parties. It could be the same gentleman that
you can only take evidence individually, in my eyes.
Yes, it's how it fits with you.
When there's not a single study out that proves 100% that the vaccines saved someone from dying from COVID. There's no way you could get that kind of evidence. No way on earth. But when it comes to evidence of people being injured from the vaccine, personally, I know people. I know a lot of people I speak to. Pretty much everyone I know knows someone that's been injured by some, you know. But to get that recorded and put down as evidence, well, that's a whole different ballgame.
Because they did, didn't they? There's something about that you can't do anything. You can't sue the people who made the vaccine or something. It was
now they've got
a disclosure
immunity, haven't they?
Yeah, which, you know, I don't know if that's normal for any vaccination or not. I don't want to sit there and comment.
But it's not. Well, they've paid out billions, haven't they, over the years through people that have been injured through their vaccines. So this one in particular, it was a government contracts. We'll only give it out as quick as this, and if you get immunity, because it was a live trial.
the thing is, it's like, how do you take it? It's how it fits with you over everything. How it fits with you. If you watch something on TV that fits right with you, you're going to believe it. If you're going to watch something stuck on YouTube that sits right with you, you're going to believe it.
100%. Yeah.
And that's as simple as it
If
gets.
something goes along the way, your way of thinking, you're more
Exactly.
inclined to choose that route. And yeah, I admit I would always go that way. And I have done a bit strongly in the past, not so much now, but I was quite rolled up in certain stages over the last 4 years. But again, when you're seeing things happen with your own eyes and in front of you, and no one's paying attention, no one's listening, it gets hard, so yeah, I do tend to not believe it straight away. I learned that quite early on. I would never just take anything at face value. I'd always, well, that sounds interesting, I'll look into that. I wouldn't just believe something straight off the bat because someone said it. I'd like to think I'd carry on that for the rest of my life as well, try and just take a breath. It's not always easy.
No. No, I think there's a lot put out there either side of the fence. And I do believe that the head of the table, whatever you want to call it, puts out both strings of attack. I do believe there is one person, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, controls it. If they're going to release evidence that it's bad, they're going to release evidence it's good. It's where you want to go with it. We have always been controlled from day dot. It doesn't matter if it's COVID. It doesn't matter if we pay our council tax. Why are we paying council tax? Because we're told to. We're sheep. We're following it. We pay our car insurance because we're told to. We're sheep. We're following it. We drive on the right-hand side of the road. We're sheep. We're following it. We're told we've got to have a passport to travel. We're sheep. We're following it. Everything that we look at can be dictated to by somebody or something. Is it right? Is it wrong?
100%. Yeah.
We have to do this. We have to do that. We're sheep. We're following it. If we're not sheep, we don't follow. So that's where my belief is. It's not about just one thing. The whole thing, the whole country that we live in with this mainstream media agenda is to make you fit into places. This unfortunately, this episode's gone down the COVID thing, but I'm going to try and lead off it just a little bit. I would want a quick answers. Joe says you're going to believe it if you're a sheep. Yeah, but we believe everything because we do this. We think our taxes go to what it needs to go to. It doesn't. You pay a car tax, so it goes to where it doesn't. So we're sheep by following that. Why not? Why are we paying our car tax if it don't go anything? But it's a sheep. You're paying tax for no reason. It's simple. Right. So do you think nobody died from COVID in the UK? If so, nobody died in the world from COVID, in your opinion, then? There's no such thing as COVID.
Not at all. I don't believe that. I believe COVID is a thing. And yeah, I believe if I don't think I don't believe that many healthy people die from COVID. I really don't. I think people were still dying from cancers. People were still dying from flu. You had like 30,000 people die of flu every year. Yet when COVID came out, you had 0 or about 3 deaths from flu. You're telling me flu decided to take a year off? I don't think so. I think you still had the same amount of people dying from flu, but it was all put down as COVID. This is where the control side of it for me comes from. If you tested positive, which we all know that them tests weren't reliable at all, if you tested positive from COVID and you died within 28 days of that positive test, regardless of what you died of, it went down as a COVID death. Yet you could die an hour, a day, a week after your vaccine for something that you never suffered for until you had the vaccine, and yet it was everything but the vaccine. This is where you've got a right battle on your hands. I think
Well, what about
God,
the
you
bloke
could probably a fifth, maybe. I don't even think it was a fifth of the people that went down as COVID death actually died of COVID. Cancer deaths reduced by 95%. You know, asthma deaths went down by 95%. All the things people died of, they all went down by about 80, 90%. No, they didn't. People were still dying from these things, if not more, because they couldn't get treatment. But it all went down as a COVID death.
What about the bloke got hit by a bus?
Yeah.
And died.
COVID.
Let's say, Joe, it wouldn't be the first time I've spoken nonsense and probably won't be the last. Paul went on holiday. So who do we believe? I would not believe everything on the BBC, the government, Facebook, social media. I also believe dangerous place to trust. Exactly.
Follow your gut, Simon. That's what I done from the get go.
This is where this show should have been really on that. I don't think you have to go with what you generally believe in. I think we can be led to wherever we want to be chosen to. The powers to be will lead you to anywhere that they want you to be. The COVID situation, for it to work successfully, they needed to divide. They needed it to be divided. They got that. The only reason they got that, they have one set of scientists relieving the facts about how COVID will kill you. Then they have another set of scientists relieving facts that that it is dangerous for you. So they control it. They lead us down the garden path. You know, look at, the likes of social media at the time. You couldn't put anything about COVID without getting a ban. And then you can put anything on there now about COVID. Do you know what I mean? So, yes, it's dangerous if you do not know your own research. Yeah, but let's say research. It's research. It's all come from somewhere.
You can't do your own research. You was told not to do your own research.
But we're going to lead off. We're going to lead off the COVID now because we're still sticking to the mainstream media, and I think obviously that was the biggest sell of mainstream media over time. Like we've had probably within the last sort of 10 years of how the mainstream media can lead you and does lead you.
Have you heard the new one out in America at the moment? They've had a mass security threat.
What is this?
Mainstream media. Now, the last couple of days, it's kicking off big time out there. Mass security threat. You know, something big's happening. They're all asking, please declassify this because the people have a right to know, blah, blah, blah. Links to Russia. And this has all come about after the Tucker Carlson interview.
Yeah, but see, once this is what annoys me with mainstream media and anything. So, let's just pick up on the Tucker Carlson thing. So Tucker Carlson is very big in the Russian state, which I didn't know. He's played every Sunday morning. It's the biggest grossing TV show over in Russia. That's why he was picked to go over there. Every channel decided that they would want to interview Putin, but they all got rejected. It was only Tucker Carlson that got granted that interview. Because of how big he is in Russia. He has it's the grossing watched program, not just his interview, but every Sunday morning was the Tucker Carlson show in the States.
Yeah. Did you ever watch the Tucker Carlson show?
No, I didn't.
I'll be honest, it was quite good, and he is very, very good at what he does. And he doesn't really pick any, like I said, he never picks sides so much. But he'll always try and get that opinion out. Basically what we sort of talk about and how you should be. He will always try and cover all the different opinions, and he'll laugh about mainstream media as we do when they come out with something ridiculous, and he'll try and get the show the facts and that of it. I think he's a genuinely nice, good guy and a genuine reporter in my eyes.
See, I have to disagree.
Really.
I think he's as dodgy as the next man.
Oh, I don't.
I do. I think he has big links
He's
to
one of the top ones throwing a spanner in the
absolutely,
works.
absolutely. Because is what I don't agree with is how the actual interview was conducted. I really don't agree with that because then we've got a Western, let's say Western, national American interviewing someone that is Russian, and every question that was asked was done in America, and every reply was done in Russian with voiceover by being an interpreter. Now, how do we know? How do we know they were the answers that come out of Putin's mouth?
Well, you've only got to get an interpreter machine and put it up to the speaker, haven't you? When you've only got to do it without
with AI,
voiceover.
With AI, they got people singing now. I don't trust it. I think the interview should have been done, if it was going to be done for the Western public, which I think this interview was done for. It wasn't done for the Russian people. It was done for the Western public. Okay. I think it was done wrongly. Putin can talk English. I'm sorry, he can. He can, it's been proven he can. I think he could give his answers. Let's be fair. There's no way he walked into that interview not knowing what the questions were going to be asked days before.
Yeah, but
they weren't off the cusp.
Does that not then put a bit of weakness in Putin's? Putin's a powerful man, and he's in Russia, being interviewed in Russia. Now, if someone said to me, "I want you to speak in this language because we know you can," no. This is my country. You want to interview me in my country? I'll give you the answers that I feel what you need to give you, but I'm going to be speaking in my native tongue.
But if he's giving it to the Western public, and he doesn't,
it's not like you just said. He's the biggest watched person out there.
No, but he's given that.
Really, he's doing it for Russia, knowing full well he's going to get back to there. But what are the Russians going to think?
He was doing it for Russia. I do not think he was doing it for Russia.
No, he probably wasn't. But
he was doing that.
Let his people think that he wasn't doing it for Russia.
No, but why would I don't see why, if he was trying to look. I don't like the whole situation. There's something not right with the whole situation that goes from Russia to Ukraine to whatever. I don't think it's right. What it is, I don't know. There is obviously something quite special about Ukraine that he wants. And I'm pretty sure there's something quite special about Ukraine that Europe want. And we obviously know that there's great big oil pipelines that go through that country. We also know that Mr. Biden's estate and his wealth is also based in Ukraine's country. So
but the answers he was giving, we already knew anyway.
But it was just what everybody, it's what people wanted to hear. I just don't like the fact that he did it in his tongue, where he could be quite, if he wanted to calm the situation, and let's be fair, English is one of the most, it's the most popular language around the world. And I get that he wanted to beat his chest. I get all that. I get that. I do get that. And why wouldn't you, as a power of your country? I get it. But if I was trying to diffuse a situation against the Western world, which sort of, I feel like he said, I've got no issue with so-and-so, stops. I get all that. Okay, I get that. But do it in a tongue that we are going to understand. Because I think there's more of a conspiracy around it, because that's how my brain works. Because it could be anything that's been put over that and can be censored quite easily.
See, I've got a different sort of take on it to you. He's not. There's not one bit about him that's worried about how we feel about him in that way. He's the most sanctioned country, the most sanctioned person in the world over the last 2 years, especially since this war started, and yet his economy has grown quicker than any others. They are not suffering one bit. They don't need us. We need him. He doesn't need to prove anything to us.
But he doesn't need war.
No, he doesn't. But
it's not.
That's what he's saying. The territories that they're fighting for was already in Russia. They had the referendum. They voted to be in Russia. They were in Russia. It was originally part of Russia. The half Ukrainian president at the time gifted it back to Ukraine. They had a referendum. They went back to Russia. Ukraine was bombing them territories for the last 14 years. He stepped in and said, enough's enough. You're bringing NATO closer. I'm going to protect the people. We're taking it back. We're taking control back of them areas. And
I get that. I get all that. And I'm a strong believer that we shouldn't be involved in any of that. That's between
we shouldn't. We certainly shouldn't be fucking... Oh, excuse me.
I believe
shouldn't
all
be
that.
Funding any war that's going on out there. It's nothing to do with us.
I get all that. I'm with that. I believe that. But I don't like the fact that he's not done it in native tongue. I like the fact that he's not done it in the way that this interview was to tell, in his words, was to enlighten the Western people. Well, if it's going to enlighten us, talk to us. Don't talk in your tongue where conspiracy theorists out there.
Yeah, but what if he makes a slip up?
But then
it's a risky move, isn't it?
It's an edited. But it's an edited interview anyway. If you think that was done like that,
no. You said it took hours. It was like 3-4 hours or something. It took.
There's once again, it's been edited 4 hours into 2 hours. So there's obviously things that have been said once again that we're not allowed to hear because it's not time for us to hear yet because we're not got to follow the agenda. The agenda doesn't fit that. So 4 hour interview, 2 hours.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that one.
We know that there's something in that interview that will come out later on when the agenda time is right because the powers to be want us to hear that. My point is that he should speak in our tongue, English language, not American English, to the best of his ability at this point, because it was there to prove to us, not to his own people, because he does this on a regular basis to his own people and to Ukraine. That's fine. They understand that. Europe understand that. But to the Western, where he was dictating to most of his answers, and his answers were dictated to the UK and America, why would you talk in your own language when it can be dubbed over quite easily and put anything on? Anything. That is my point of it all. And
I don't know, because you could hear him speaking anyway. So I think if you're going to mix the dubbing up, I think people would pick up on that like that. Me personally.
And that's... Yeah, but we wouldn't know. You could put anything over it. You know, it's a fluent voice. I wouldn't...
No, totally
if he was
agree.
opening his mouth, it could be anything. Could be anything that he wants. That could be just the dubbing of Tucker Carlson's people to make Mr. Putin look amazing and say, look, we don't want war with you. It's not nothing to do with that. And that's what everybody wants to hear. And, you know, that could have been done like that. I'm not saying it is. You have to have both sides of the story.
Oh, God, yeah.
You have to have that, both sides of the story. And I do believe there's something.
That's the other thing as well, though, isn't it? He wanted to interview Zelensky as well.
Yeah, but that's
he refused point blank.
But it would be great interview because he's an actor.
But you want exactly. He'd be good at it then, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
You would have thought. But instead, he put Tucker Carlson on the hit list. He's now got a price on his head.
Yeah, because makes it look even more better. It makes it look even more realistic.
Yeah,
all that is
think,
all
like you say.
crap.
You always want the two sides of the story. Then let him interview both people. That would be the most watched 2 interviews in the world, wouldn't it?
But then I don't see why one person was picked.
It wasn't. They offered it to both.
No.
They wanted to interview both of them.
Even
Zelensky
Putin.
refused.
Even Putin. Even Putin, though. One person. That's Why that person? Oh yeah, because Tucker Carlson is the biggest thing in Russia on a Sunday morning, the biggest grossing TV program on a Sunday morning.
Then
That's dodgy.
If I was Zelensky and he was true about what he's in this for, I would be the first one up there then, knowing that the people that were with me, that would be my chance to get my point across.
I would have had me personally, I would have done it in an English tongue, and I would have done it to more people than just one person. That would have been me.
No, I know what you're saying, but I just think asking a Russian to speak English, I know he can speak English, probably not that fluently though. I've never heard him.
I reckon they can because
you don't need to learn English.
No, but to be fair, you look at all world leaders and everything; they've all got a great. When it comes to foreign languages, the English is the worst because it's spoken throughout the world. We don't need to learn. It's
the hardest language to learn.
But we don't need to learn it because every other country will learn English.
To a certain extent, yeah.
Yeah, every person will learn English somewhere along the line because it's the most taught language in the world. So, and he's definitely been to places where he's needed to learn English. He's been, I don't know, what do they call him, leader of that country for a number of years, where he has been at certain things and certain, I think he could have quite easily done an interview, especially if it was, 4 hours long. We only see 2 hours of it. So that could have been done. It could have been done. We could have heard his own voice talking to us, to the people. And, I get it. But I generally, I'm with you on the side of something dodgy. The narrative that we are being told about Ukraine and Russia by the mainstream media doesn't fit. Doesn't fit. It's just like the other war that is going on somewhere else, Hamas and Israel.
It's just the money side of it that baffles me more than anything. I mean, he's just spent 75 million on 2 yachts, Zelensky, and Sunak says it would cost £1 billion to sort our NHS out. Spend it then. No, we can't afford to. Hang on a minute. Zelensky, I'm going to send you another £2.5 billion.
Exactly.
Well, hang on a minute. What way are you going to roll with this, mate? Sort this country out or fight a war they're not going to win?
Heidi just said in Denmark, it's the second language, English. And I think that is pretty much, we're lazy. When it comes to second languages, the English are lazy. Yeah. Because we don't need it. We don't need another language, which is sad.
My second language is bad English.
Yeah. Swearing normally mine. Loads of sorry, once again, Russia's not the enemy. Russia, we are talking nonsense. Once again, my opinion. I have an opinion.
You've got an interview tonight, Russ.
Yeah. I'm not wound up. It's just my opinion. Don't like it. It's not. I'm not winding anybody up. It's just my opinion. It's what fits right with me. He explains the whole history of Ukraine. Country relates to Russia. Tells it class run by NATO. Simon said, why should he do to please us? Because the whole interview was to please the Western world. That was the whole interview. It wasn't to please his people.
Well, see, that's the thing as well, though. I know you say you don't like, and I know exactly what you're going to say before I've even said this. But when Tucker Carlson went out there, he was saying, people were asking me why I'm going out there. I'm not going out there because I love Russia. I'm not going out there because I love Putin. I'm going out there because I love America. And we're funding a lot of this war. I'm going out there because I love America and I love the American people. And I just want answers. And I want, you haven't got to believe anything I say. You haven't got to believe anything Putin says. But hear us out and make your own mind up. I just want to get some truth of the matter. We're not getting told nothing. We're getting told the narrative, the one-sided thing. I just want to get a wider view. And I thought, no, I'll make you right, mate. And I think Well, it's been watched worldwide, hasn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, once again, the interview made mainstream media. So for me, they wanted you to hear it.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't like the way it was conducted. That's my only issue with it. Do I have a problem with Tucker Carlson? No, I don't. I don't have an issue with him per se. I just don't like the way that there's been bits dripped, you know, the secret envelope. What was in the secret envelope? We don't know what was in the secret envelope, you know, but we've been drip fed. There's something in that envelope. We've been told there's something in that envelope. The mainstream media, ITV News, put that envelope. They said, they showed you the clip of Tucker Carlson saying, opening the envelope, looking at it, go, I'll read that later for some nighttime reading.
Yeah.
Once again, programming. They've programmed you. That interview was planned from day dot of how to do it. It's already there. They can tell you whatever they choose to tell you. And, you know, as Joe would say, the sheep, you know, you've got one sheep following one way, you've got the other sheep following the other way. It's as simple as it gets. It's split sheepage. That's a word.
But then it's the same with, I know we're not going to go back in COVID, but Joe, in many respects, you could be classed as a sheep from the other side.
Yeah.
Like you said, I could be classed as a sheep from the other side because we're following one side of it and they're following the other side of it. So I get what you're saying there, Russ. No, I totally get what you're saying.
This is the question. So who should we listen to then? Yourself.
Yourself, your gut, your heart.
Yourself, whatever feels what is right for you. Whatever you feel is right for you. If you feel that you watch something on YouTube that fits right, go with it. Go with it. I can't prove to you either way. I have no evidence to say what they tell us on mainstream media exists, and I've also got no evidence that is categorically evidence. The only way that I would ever come out and say that this is my opinion of my evidence if I was the one doing the experiment and things like that. That's all I can say.
How'd you learn?
Yeah, you know, it's no different.
Mistakes.
Yeah,
you learn from mistakes. So if you follow it and it turns out to be wrong, you'll know not to follow that again.
But I look at everything. I'm terrible. I look at everything as a conspiracy. You know, look at, you know, the biggest one at the moment. I think, you know, the Tucker Carlson's been up there very high in one of them. You know, sort of this split opinion. But I also think Biden's now been put on the mainstream media hit list. I think that, you know, he was
time, mate.
But he was, you know, made out to be a hero taking over from Mr. Trump. You couldn't say a bad thing about him. You couldn't, you know, but over the last week or so, everything about Mr. Biden and his slip-ups are becoming on mainstream news. So that is, obviously, they don't want Mr. Biden in power. So they've all got to get the people on their side. They've got to make Biden now hated. So where do you do? Stick him on mainstream media and make him out he's hated. He's probably quite a nice guy deep down. I've always had a problem with Biden from the day he stepped in, and this show will prove it. I've never had a good thing to say about him. But do I think he deserves what he gets? Probably not, because I don't think it's his fault. He was put in power by these people.
That's not Biden.
No, I don't think it is.
That is not Biden.
No,
I'm telling you now, there's no way that is the same man.
But I get moaned at, don't I, for saying that. You know, you see him glitch, you see him. It could be quite easily an AI robot. It could be someone totally different. But
nobody's face changes as much as that man. I'm telling you. When you see the pictures of him back in the past, when he was Secretary of State or whatever it was, he looked completely different. He's got his jawline, his forehead, everything. The way his ears touch his neck, they don't. They fold up. Completely different person.
But I think it's what they've got to do. Is I think they've got to try and, you know, I don't know. I don't know where it's going to. I want, I do feel that we could sit here and say that Mr. Trump could be back in power. I don't know. I don't feel that's quite going to fit the agenda unless, something can happen.
I think he is.
There's a part. I hope because I like him.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say I
I
don't.
do.
I like him. But I don't think well, let's just say if he does get in power, they will fit the agenda around him like they did for 4 years prior. And then they deal with it after because he can't get into power anymore. So they have 4 years of doing what they feel that they need to do to keep it all hunky-dory. In 4 years' time, they'll change the status quo again to whoever they choose. But as I say, they can manipulate the electoral roll. It's as simple as it gets, isn't it?
Well, we know that they can.
Yeah. Simon said, but I'm fed up with trying to research things when there's so much shit out there. Totally agree. That's why I say just go to your belly. Go to your belly. Go with it. I did say at the beginning of the show, this show would be deep tonight. Has gone deep. I do. But Putin is only a puppet. Yeah, I believe he is. For me, I do believe he's another one of the head honchos of what they choose they want to hear. They do say, what is it? The world is not a world without a war going on somewhere. So just happens to be what I believe is this time. But yeah, I don't believe any of the world leaders are in their own power. I really don't. That's my opinion. That's only my opinion. I've got no evidence to prove that. My gut just says that, and I follow. You follow the gut on that. I just don't. I think we can always try to hide across things, and things like that. But I do think we are so led in ways that we probably would never know because we've been born into it. Just like the kids of today will be born into it. They won't know any different.
That's the trouble, isn't it?
They won't, just like we didn't know any different to when we were born into it. There's things out there that doesn't make sense to me, that why do we do this and why do we do that? Because we were born into it and we accept it. Now, the children of today will be born into a situation now that is being, maybe in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, 30 years' time, when people like myself and Paul and you and Joe are no longer on this planet. But the children of today will accept lockdowns on a regular basis because that's what they've been born into. It's a generational sway. I always sort of, take the taxes in, the car tax. We pay car tax, we pay TV tax to watch the telly because we was born into it. We accept it. No other country does it, I don't think, do they?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Car tax. Do you know what I mean? You have to pay. Not only do you pay for the car, you have to pay for insurance. You have to pay for this and car tax, road tax, things like that. Council tax. What does council tax do anymore?
And MOT to make sure your car's roadworthy.
Yeah.
What about having the roads car worthy?
Exactly.
I've never known the roads to be as bad as what they are now.
No,
never.
Absolutely not.
No money's getting spent. More money's getting spent in taxes. More money's pushed in on taxes, council taxes, than ever before. Yet nothing's being spent. Where's the money going? Where is the money going?
But once again, we was born into it. We was led by the mainstream media of the time that is what we was there. So we have to accept it. Is it right? Of course it isn't. And that's just how I see it. We have always been led down garden paths, where we need to be, where they want us to go and what points they want us to be. That is the mainstream media's, in my opinion, I've put why is it? What is the mainstream media agenda? It is to keep everybody in line and also divide and conquer. That is my only take I can really say on it. I do believe the mainstream media release all the stuff they want you to hear, and they release all the stuff they don't want you to hear, to keep this divide, to keep this interest, until the likes of the generation that me, yourself, and the listeners probably are gone, where there will be no fight. And they'll just accept everything that's thrown at them to the point that they've won. I don't see the young youth of today being able to stand up and fight for what we would be doing.
No, but yes and no. It'll only go on so long, because even if they win and everyone does fall in line, that'll only happen so long, because we're human. You'd always want more. So it will baseline like that for a while, for many years, and then sooner or later there will be a revolution. But enough's enough. Hang on a minute. There's more to life than this. And then word gets about, there'll be a movement start, you know.
Yeah.
And it's
already been drip fed to us. It's always been drip fed to us. I you look at the 15-minute cities, drip fed. Now it's gone all quiet. No one's heard of Dickie Bird, but it is now programmed into your head that every conspiracy theorist out there is going about 15-minute cities. Who's keeping it alive? The conspiracy theorist, not the mainstream media, because they've already done their bit, done it. But they know it's going to happen at some point. Is
it still go ahead in Oxford? Is it still live in Oxford?
They've all signed all the paperwork to say it will, but I just think that was the general.
Well, it was live, wasn't it? It was going. It was
sort of.
Started.
But they started. But I don't think ever really people did rebel about.
I thought they gave up on it because they kept ripping up the blockades and that.
I don't think they've given up on it.
Mm.
There's always going to be that.
Like you say, it's gone quiet, so you don't know where they are with it at the moment.
Yeah, but that's no different to this ULEZ, is it? No different to the ULEZ. You know, you think.
Well, I don't know. I'm still seeing a lot of things on ULEZ on the social media, but when it comes to Oxford, I'm not seeing anything.
I'm not. See, mine's gone very dry over the ULEZ thing. I don't see as many being brought down as they used to be. But I do like the sticker that was put in Dagenham. I must have liked that. Did make me laugh. But I can't say that on air because it's very rude what they stuck on all the stickers. But it did really make me laugh. But no, I just think that it's always going to be drip fed. I do think it's played to the chords of what it is. And that's how it is. So I'm sorry. So whatever the cause of war, whoever is causing them, one main facts: innocent people are being killed and injured. Yeah, but war's always been around, hasn't it? It's never not been a thing. Will it ever stop? I don't think it will. Unfortunately, saddens me to say. I don't think a world without
too much
war will it
control to be made out of it.
Yeah,
that's the trouble.
It is sad the people injured are being killed, but at the end of the day, it is war, wrongly war. Totally don't agree with it because of that incident, but I don't know how you'd stop it. That's a sad thing.
How would you?
There's always going to be a bad person or someone bad made to look bad. Someone made to look bad. And the evil one, you know, all over time. Because the mainstream media will dictate that to us. Of what we want to be looked at. Who is the criminal at the time? Let's put him in show. So the mainstream media effect, and that goes with everything that we deal with here. You know, you go back, what, probably 6-7 months ago, ufology was strong in mainstream media. It's got a bit quiet again.
Yeah.
Because they've done that precognitive programming. They've done their job, tick the box.
Yeah, they've done what they needed to do.
You know, and that's
set in motion for Project Bluebeam to kick off.
Yeah, or the
any time now.
Yeah, or whatever is coming. Do you know what I mean? You know, could there be a visit? Could there be a strong visit? I hope so. Hope they can come, but I don't think it's going to be how we perceive it. I really don't.
Yeah.
But one thing I can say is that the mainstream media agenda will always be there. It's always been there from day dot. That's been going back hundreds and hundreds of years. When there was such thing as papers, when you could get, you know, paper and, you know, everything, you know, you had the mayors, didn't you, at that time, calling out in the streets in the Victorian times. You go,
but again,
that.
It would have been the same then. You're only allowed to say what we tell you to say.
Exactly.
So,
and
like I say, it's always been about pushing the narrative.
Right, guys. As I said to you guys, we are finishing at 7:30 tonight. Where did that one come from? 9:30 tonight. I want to thank everybody that joined us tonight and putting your comments in. I really do appreciate it. We will always say we don't mean to upset anybody or, you know, put anyone, you know, it's just an anecdotal opinion of this. Do I have any?
Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I might have upset Joe because I haven't seen him since I disliked Tucker Carlson. So I think I might have upset Joe. But Joe, you know I don't mean it. You know, it's just my opinion, and I'm not causing things like that. It's just we have to agree to disagree, I suppose, isn't it? Or just disagree and disagree. But would I ever? The problem with me is I don't find anybody offensive when it comes to opinions about things like this.
But this is the whole reason why. This is one thing we fight about, mate. You know, you should be able to have a discussion, or you know, just because my opinion is different to yours or ours is different to theirs, or have a discussion about it. You haven't got to meet in the middle. You haven't got to back down, and you can keep your opinions, but at least talk about them. You haven't got to go in a slagging match and fighting match or anything like that.
Not at all. Not at all. And that's why, you know, things like this will never ever, you know, it's different if you insult my family or someone I love. That's different. But when we talk about things that I've got no proof on, or it just sits right in my head, I'll just say, look, I don't agree with it because I see it like this and I see it like that. I still talk to you, sit and have a glass of beer with you. You know what I mean? It doesn't bother me. I don't look, you know, that doesn't bother me. So thank you for everybody that has joined us tonight. I think I'm back on tomorrow night with Simon. I will let everybody know that tomorrow, but I think I am. Can't remember if I'm not or not. But no, thank you for everyone that has joined us tonight. Heidi says, great show. Good night. Very deep tonight. I do apologise if it hasn't resonated with any of you tonight. We'll try and be a little bit more light-hearted next week. We'll try. I don't know what we can do with light-heartedness because the UFO thing's gone quiet. Yes, we are. So yes, we are. We are live tomorrow night on Pulse Talk Radio, guys, for the EJH Paranormal Site. It's well light-hearted compared to this. It will be a nice show tomorrow night when we talk about ghosts and ghouls rather than the conspiracies that go on within the world today. So thank you for everyone that's staying put with us. It's actually, I've had, you know, people have stayed with us tonight, which is good. So take care, everybody, and me and Paul will be back next week. I haven't loaded up the ending because the computer has booted it out. So for everyone that's listening on Pulse Talk, it's going to be a very abrupt ending, and I really do apologise on it because I can't find the radio ending because it's just edited it out for some strange reason. But take care, everybody, and I'll see you all next next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for everyone that has joined us over on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for all your comments coming. It helps the show to roll and rumble, which is good. It gives us a little bit of ability to move forward. And it's gone really quick tonight.
It's fine,
Really quick. Really quick. So thank you for everyone. And me and Paul will be back next week. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.